Day I saw Jesus Revolution,
Oh.
starring Kelsey Grammer and a bunch of people I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So I posted an out of the theater reaction for this, and I said, this movie, I had some fun with it. There's a few laughs in it. It's some feel-good moments and everything. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't recommend this. The reason I went to go see this, I had a choice between seeing this movie, Jesus Revolution, or I could have gone to go see Emily, which is out here right now in limited release.
Is this about Emily Bronte?
I don't know.
Something? Okay.
I don't remember. I read the description and I was like, neither of them sounded interesting to me. So I looked both of them up on Rotten Tomatoes, and Emily had a high critic rating.
Yes.
And Jesus Revolution had a high audience score. So I'm like, well, I never agree with the critics because they always want like all this pretentious garbage stuff in the movies. So I went with the audience. Apparently that was a bad choice on my part because this is
I didn't like the look of this when I saw it.
This is a movie for evangelicals. This is for Christians in the U.S. Full transparency, I'm not a Christian, so these kind of messaging doesn't really speak to me. It is a nice story, and I did have fun with it, but I couldn't really recommend it unless this is really your thing. If you're a hardcore evangelical in the U.S. or outside, this would be good. But it didn't really speak to me. Even though it was a fun story, it just wasn't that interesting.
Didn't look interesting to me at all.
And it was 2 hours, so I'm like, no, come on, I don't need to see this.
I would have gone to see Emily. It's actually a part fictional portrait of Emily Bronte. That's what I thought. I would much rather go see that.
Okay.
Because I love it. Just the costumes alone. But this movie, again, is supposed to be in 1969 and is about hippies. I am so sick of movies about hippies in 1969. Because you know what? You didn't spread peace and love. You turned all commercial and went into the 80s and were money grabbers and just... I'm just so done of the hippies.
Why you got so much against hippies?
With hippies.
What did they do to you?
Well, they took all my jobs, and I couldn't get a job, and they keep on staying working, and I can never get a job.
That's a generation thing. That's not the hippies' fault.
I'm just sick of hippies from 1969.
The hippies were part of the boomer generation, okay?
Yeah.
Which you and I are not part of that generation.
Hearing about it. I mean, they were dirty, they were smelly, they all had to grow up, and they left their principles behind. That's all I'm going to say.
Christine doesn't really like hippies. I'm rather indifferent. They got this one guy, Jonathan Roumie, and he plays Lonnie Frisbee in this movie. And apparently this is like the only movie I've ever seen him in. I don't recognize any of the other things. The Good Wife on TV. Anyway, so this guy, what's his name here? Jonathan Roumie, he plays Lonnie Frisbee.
Okay.
And he's dressed up to look like he is hippie Jesus. Okay? They even mentioned at the beginning how like he looks like Jesus.
Okay.
And he's a hippie.
Is it like the buddy Jesus?
And he acts like he's constantly high all the time. So he's not as happy as you mean the Buddy Christ?
Yeah, the Buddy
from
Christ.
Dogma, where he's like...
Yeah, the Buddy Christ.
the Buddy Christ. Check out Dogma if you haven't. That's a great reference. With George Carlin's in that. He's the one promoting the Buddy Christ.
Buddy Christ.
So this guy's playing hippie Jesus, and he's doing his best Matthew McConaughey impression. Oh. Except he doesn't say his catchphrase, you know, right on, right on, right on.
Right.
Now, I'm guessing you're a big McConaughey fan.
I
don't really
not.
care.
I am not.
Okay. You know women like Matthew McConaughey.
Not this one.
Okay,
Anyway,
so this guy's he's playing Matthew McConaughey as hippie Jesus.
Ugh.
Kelsey Grammer's in it. This isn't top tier Kelsey Grammer work, but he's doing his best. Okay?
It's not a comedy. He doesn't get a comedic role, does
There is some comedy in it.
Okay.
And end of the day, this isn't about it's not a conflict movie, it's not an action movie. It's not a mystery, it's not a thriller. It's about this time period and it's about these people. It's a feel-good story about people. And it focuses on Christianity, which, okay. I didn't recommend people watch this. And while I did have a fun time, I'm never going to see this again. And it didn't really it didn't really jump out at me as being really good. It was just kind of okay. And okay to me means easily forgettable, because nothing really stands out. So
Right.
a week from now, I'm not even going to remember this. And because of that, I give it a worst movie ever.
Was it a true story?
It's based on true events that happened in the U.S.
Oh.
in the late 60s, early 70s, which is the time period for this movie.
Okay.
It takes place over a little bit of time. And it's, if this is your thing, you want feel-good stuff about people, about the past, if you remember this era, maybe you were a hippie back in the day, I don't know. Or if you have better thoughts about hippies than Christine here
I'm
does.
just so sick, and I can't stand people that are high. They're so irritating.
If you want to see,
Can't stand
if you want to
hippies.
see stuff about Christianity and a nice feel-good movie, I'd recommend it. But otherwise, I'm like, don't bother. It's not that interesting. But did anyone else go see this? It currently has. See, it has a 54% critic rating, and it now has a 99% audience score. 99%. And yesterday when I looked, it was 100%. So I'm like, I gotta see this. But this is the evangelicals.
Well, I was going to say, when you're dealing with religion and your whole church goes, are you going to say you didn't like it? I don't know. You don't want to be the odd man out.
This is, well, it's not just that, but who is this movie targeted against? For it's targeted
Hippies?
for Christians and evangelicals
Again,
mostly.
you're
So
right.
that's who's going to go see it. So me seeing it, I'm not the target audience. I'm like, what is this? It's
Right.
nice, but it doesn't speak to me.
There aren't any hippies anymore.
Did anyone else? Maybe you're very devout Christian and you want to go see this movie, and if you liked it, I don't want to take anything away from you. Or even if you're not a Christian and you enjoyed this movie, if you enjoyed it, don't let me take that away from you. It just didn't really speak for me. But let us hear if anyone else saw this movie and what your thoughts are. If you enjoyed it, if you did, why not? We want to hear from you. We'll read it out on the next show. Are you going to go see this before we move on?
No, when I saw the preview, it just made me mad.
Was it the hippies?
Yes, the hippies.
It was the